The movie starts with two astronauts named Christian and Kira using a rocket called Soyuz rocket to dock on the ISS, International Space Station. The ISS is a space station where astronauts conduct scientific experiments. Once Christian and Kira arrive at the ISS, they are warmly welcomed by the four members already on board. The commander-in-chief, Gordon, Veronica, and Pulav's brother greet them happily. After the warm welcome, Veronica approaches Kira and informs her that she has already been on the station for 50 days. Veronica also emphasizes the importance of unity and following the rules while on the station. While they are talking, Gordon interrupts and shows Kira her bedroom, computer, and everything she needs, including a locker to store her research. He explains how to sleep at the ISS, which can be challenging at first. Some astronauts sleep by securing themselves in a bag, while others have learned to rest by floating in their living quarters. He suggests that Kira use a sleeping bag until she feels more comfortable. He also mentions that the constant humming sound they hear is from the life support system. Upon hearing this, Kira immediately starts working and takes out a cage with a few mice for her experiments. Alexa notices this and mentions that they will be working closely together for a while since their workstations are next to each other. Inquisitive about Alexa's experiments, Kira asks him about them, but Alexei explains that he lost all his mice after Kira moved to the next room. Later, Alexei examines Kira's setup closely, while some of the crew members engage in exercises. Kira observes Christian experimenting with a drill that can emit fire, which is both impressive and a bit frightening. During dinner time, Christian shares some gifts from Earth, and Nikolai brings out a bottle of whiskey. When Kira attempts to open it in a normal way, bubbles of alcohol float around, causing everyone to laugh as they play with the alcohol bubbles. Afterward, the crew gathers at the viewing deck and enjoys a breathtaking view of Earth. As they engage in conversation about topics like peace and humidity, Kira notices one of the guys sleeping while floating and eating, which makes her feel quite anxious. Veronica comes to her aid and helps her secure herself to a sleeping bag for her first night on the ISS. The following morning, the crew starts their work early. Christian attempts to use the computer, but there is no signal, preventing them from sending or receiving messages. Kira checks on her mice and discovers that they have attacked each other, but she is unsure of the reason behind it. Feeling disheartened, she goes to the viewing deck to gaze at Earth. Suddenly, she notices a flash of light on the Earth's surface. Initially, she thinks it might be a volcanic eruption and informs the others. However, multiple explosions start to occur in various locations. Alexei quickly pulls Kira down and closes the windows. It becomes apparent that a war has broken out between Russia and the USA. All the crew members attempt to contact Earth, but there is no response. Suddenly, Gordon receives a message from Mission Control with classified information instructing him to remain silent. The US government wants its citizens to abandon all experiments and take control of the station using any means necessary. In his own station, Nikolai also receives a message, leading Gordon to wonder if he has received a similar order. When Gordon tries to reply to the message, the power goes out. Gordon pretends that he received no message from Earth, but once he has some privacy with Kira and Christian, he tells them the truth. Christian immediately assumes that the Russians have received the same orders and blames them for the power outage. However, Gordon reminds him not to jump to conclusions. Veronica then announces a major issue. The station has lost its internal propulsion and is descending out of orbit. They have only one day before the entire station burns up in the atmosphere. There is a mention of using the Soyuz rocket as an escape option, but it can only accommodate a limited number of people. This leads to an argument among the crew. Kira sends out a message requesting help with propulsion and hopes that Mission Control will receive it in time. For now, all they can do is wait. Suddenly, Alexei informs the crew that there is a damaged antenna outside the station that needs manual repair. Christian expresses doubt, thinking it might be a lie. However, Gordon volunteers to go and fix it. Christian whispers his concerns about it potentially being a trap, but Gordon assures him that he trusts everyone in the crew. Once outside, Gordon witnesses a dreadful view of Earth and uses the communication system to ask Kira to keep everyone away from the windows. Meanwhile, Christian and Alexei attempt to chat, but tension rises between them. Alexei then claims he needs to use the bathroom, and as soon as Christian leaves, he emerges and opens a panel. He prepares to cut some wires but hesitates. Back to Gordon, who cautiously moves around the station while Kira engages in conversation with him to help keep him calm. After a few minutes of slow and cautious spacewalking, Gordon is inching closer to the damaged antenna. However, at that very moment, Alexei cuts the wire, causing Gordon to lose communication with the station. When Kira alerts the others about the situation, Christian quickly realizes that Alexei is missing and hurries to inspect the panels. However, Alexei has cleverly concealed his sabotage by disguising it with fake wires, and Christian finds nothing suspicious. Meanwhile, Gordon realizes that his tether is not long enough to reach the antenna. With no other option, he must disconnect it and make a daring and risky leap to reach his destination. Gordon finally reaches the antenna, only to discover that it is in perfect condition, confirming Christian's earlier suspicions. However, at that moment, Nikolai operates the robotic arms and forcefully pushes Gordon away from the station, causing him to float aimlessly in space. Kira and Veronica start to panic when they are unable to communicate with Gordon or locate him on the cameras. Veronica checks the windows and witnesses Gordon drifting away, prompting them to rush and reel in the tether, only to find it empty. Overwhelmed with grief, Kira retreats to her room. Christian comes to check on her, and Kira expresses her desire to go out and search for Gordon, believing that his spacesuit should keep him alive for a few more hours. However, Christian disagrees and admonishes Kira for thinking it was an accident, as it is evident that the Russians acted intentionally. Meanwhile, Veronica confronts Alexei and Nikolai, demanding the truth. They receive orders from Russia to eliminate the Americans and take control of the ISS. Nikolai argues that the Americans would do the same to them. In anguish, Veronica likens them to monsters and expresses her intention to find Gordon. However, the brothers refuse to assist her, leaving Veronica heartbroken as she seeks solace in another room to calm down. A few moments later, Veronica approaches Kira and requests a private conversation, as Kira is the only person she feels she can trust at this time. Veronica proposes an exchange of keys, but when Kira claims to have lost hers, Veronica realizes she is being dishonest. Kira then confesses that they have received orders from the government to take control of the ISS. In turn, Veronica admits that the Pulov brothers were responsible for Gordon's death. This revelation convinces Kira to join forces with Veronica. Their plan involves creating a diversion, while Kira uses the Russian key to access Alexei's box, which contains samples that could potentially treat radiation poisoning. With Earth in the midst of a nuclear war, their respective countries want exclusive access to these cures, using them as a powerful bargaining chip. However, Veronica believes that everyone should have access to these treatments. She also reveals that the most crucial samples are stored in Node 0. After exchanging keys, Veronica takes the fire drill gun and activates pure oxygen in one of the chambers, creating a dangerous situation that could potentially cause an explosion. Meanwhile, Nikolai and Alexei attempt to calm her down. In the midst of this chaos, Kira heads to the research lab in search of Node 0. However, despite her efforts, she is unable to locate it. Seeking answers, she turns to Christian for clarification. Christian informs her that there is no such thing as Node 0, making Kira realize that Veronica had been dishonest. With a sense of urgency, Kira hurries to find Veronica, knowing that she must confront her about the deception. Christian and Kira quickly follow each other into the next room and witness Veronica striking Alexei with a wrench. Taking advantage of the distraction, Christian delivers a forceful blow to the back of Veronica's head, rendering her unconscious. Nikolai and Alexei are devastated by this turn of events, but Christian explains that he had no other choice, as Veronica posed a threat to the station by intending to cause an explosion. While Alexei and Nikolai attend to Veronica, Christian persuades Kira to remain in hiding until communications are restored. Amidst the continuing flames and destruction, Nikolai declares that he is putting an end to all of this, deeming it his responsibility on Earth. Meanwhile, Alexei tries to drown his sorrows by drinking. As he looks at the screens, he makes a startling discovery. Gordon is floating nearby, still alive. Alexei assists Gordon by utilizing the grabber arm to carefully bring him back inside the station. Meanwhile, Kira and Christian find themselves hiding within some luggage as Nikolai begins searching the area. In a clever attempt to divert Nikolai's attention, Christian tosses his fidget toy in the opposite direction, causing Nikolai to investigate the distraction. Seizing the opportunity, Kira emerges from her hiding spot and accidentally bumps into Alexei, who helps her find another hiding place. Alexei lies to his brother Nikolai by insisting that they continue searching for both Kira and Christian. Eventually, Nikolai spots Christian and forcefully pulls him out, intending to attack him. However, Alexei intervenes and ends up getting hit instead while trying to protect Christian. Kira pushes Nikolai, allowing Christian to escape. In response, Nikolai redirects his aggression towards Kira and begins choking her. Suddenly, Gordon unexpectedly appears and knocks Nikolai down using a drill. He inquires about Veronica's whereabouts and becomes enraged upon learning that she is no longer present. Filled with anger, Gordon locks himself in the room with Nikolai, and a fierce fight ensues between them. They grapple and exchange punches. In the midst of the struggle, Gordon loses control of the drill, and Nikolai seizes the opportunity, activating it and impaling Gordon with his final surge of strength. However, Gordon manages to grab a screwdriver from Nikolai's pocket and retaliates by stabbing him in the neck. Despite the other's efforts to open the door using a drill, it proves futile. By the time they gain access, it is too late. Both men have lost their lives and their lifeless bodies float within the room. The Earth continues to be consumed by flames as the remaining astronauts take a moment to grieve. Later, Kira realizes that they are losing altitude on the station. While exploring, she comes across a sign indicating Node 0, which implies that the person who lied was Christian, not Veronica. Determined to seek an explanation, Kira heads to Christian's room and discovers all the samples prepared for escape, along with an escape suit. It becomes clear that Christian had prior knowledge of everything and had planned to flee alone. At that moment, the life support ventilation suddenly shuts down as part of Christian's scheme. Kira searches for Alexei to warn him, but he is in the same room as Christian. She uses gestures to convey the message for Alexei to turn off the music, and he realizes the absence of the hum. Kira then taps on the table 3 times with a jar, signaling Alexei to be prepared. However, when Kira attempts to borrow a knife from Christian to make a sandwich, he tries to get rid of Alexei, insisting on privacy. When Alexei refuses to leave, Christian becomes aggressive and brandishes the knife, targeting Kira. In a swift move, Alexei intervenes, and his hand ends up being stabbed instead. Alexei manages to restrain Christian, while Kira uses a necklace to choke him. After a few minutes, Christian succumbs to lack of breath, leaving Kira to grapple with the fact that she has taken a life. Following the incident, Kira tries to assist Alexei with his wound. He successfully restores the life support system. Additionally, Kira checks on her mice and discovers that Alexei has constructed a net for them to hold onto. Suddenly, a message requesting a propulsion boost is finally acknowledged, indicating that they are no longer in immediate danger. Soon, communication is restored, and both governments inquire about whether they have regained control of the station. Displeased with their leaders, Kira and Alexei ignore the messages and utilize the Soyuz rocket to return to Earth.